So today we will see mapping in Hibernate. Actually not wait, mapping for now. We have to do first of all CRUD operations in Hibernate. Okay, so like when we say CRUD operations, so let me write it again. I think I have done it earlier as well in JDBC CPI. So C for create or insert. Create means insert, kind of going to create a record in database. R for read, update, delete. So these are the basic operations which you will see and or work in your projects. So every time you're going to insert record, read, update, and delete. This kind of operation, which is kind of basics which every developer will do in their day-to-day development. So same thing we are going to perform through Hibernate. So Hibernate is all about the database, and in previous class we also able to create that Hibernate application. This is the application, and in the tester file we did this tester2. So we tried to insert some record by using session.save. So it's all about session. If you have a session, you can perform all this operation just by calling one method name. If you have to perform insert operation, need to call save method and it will insert the record. Likewise, update, delete, and we can do the same. So for save it's there, update for update. If you want to get something like read something, so get method, and if you want to delete record, there's a delete method. So we have all these ready-made methods. We don't have to write SQL query to perform these operations. Just a method call and done. You will see all the things are working fine. The only condition is if you are dealing with CRUD operations through Hibernate or performing any CRUD operations through Hibernate. So the only condition is that you guys have to use objects and primary keys. That's why primary keys are really critical when performing any database operation. So the requirement here is when we are performing these CRUD operations, writing in a note, have to pass object as param in these methods. These means those save, update, get, delete. Okay, so that's the first thing. Second thing, make sure the object has primary key, that is ID. Okay, so oops, did I remove? Oh no, I removed that thing. Two people left the class. Fine. I have tried again. That note. That's the first one. Have to not create. Pass params. Object as param in these methods. Second, make sure primary key is used in the object. So whenever you're passing these objects, make sure that ID is always there. So these are two mandatory things if you want to perform any basic operation through Hibernate. Okay. Sushil, can you tell me what is primary key? Primary keys. Or anyone in this class knows primary key? What is primary key? No?
Is it like IDs?
Mm-hmm.
Like ID value?
ID is fine. Why are you saying values?
Like,
Hmm.
sorry, I'm not sure.
Ah, that's fine. Okay. But yeah, it's a ID, a primary key which uniquely identifies the value. Why I ask? Because I give this as a homework. So that means nobody is doing homework. It's your exception, that's fine, Sringa. But I was expecting this from everyone. Fine. So nobody's homework. Nobody's doing homework. Great. Okay, so we have to use these two things. The primary key is one of the key present in database which uniquely identifies the record. So if I go back to database and this is my table, where is that? This one, I guess. Oh, not sure. Student, subject. This is user. Okay, so if I have to say select star from user where ID equals to 1. So if I execute this query, so I can see it is fetching only one row. But if I execute this whole thing, it will fetch the all three queries. So it simply means when we give ID, it fetches the unique record by using primary key. So this is what ID do. I mean not ID, the primary key do. So in our case, right now primary key name is ID. It could be anything. So usually we keep ID as a primary key. Fine. Okay, so how to perform these CRUD operations? So let's do this. I'm going to create one more um, entity. So we have student and user. Let's create a Java class. Let's call this employee. Okay, that's my class name. So first of all, we will create a simple Pojo class, private int ID, private string um, name. So we have two fields. Let's create one more. Let's add one ID int. Let's say age. Okay, so that's simple fields. Now I'll generate its status getter. Fine. So status getter is also done. Now we need to convert this to a entity. So first step is make sure that you are using entity at top of your class. So class becomes entity and I have to convert this ID to a primary key. So I'll write add ID and import from persistence API. Always import annotation from Java x.persistence. Okay, so our entity class is ready. Next we have to register this class in configuration file. So I'll open this configuration file and right here I'll copy this line and type the class name, the new class or entity name. How to cross check? Hold control button, hover the mouse and hover. So something is not correct. It is not making the hp.entity emplo. Oh, there's a triple E. Let's remove one E. Okay, now you can see when I hover, it becomes hyperlink. When I click, it goes here. So class or entity class is ready. Next, let's perform a simple operation. So I can use the previous class and why we have the sampler tester here. It's not template student. Wrong name. Okay. Tester. And let's clear the content of it so it will be clean. Okay, so we have the clean. Yes, you can say state, and this is a template for for our task. So this whole these all 6 lines inside the main method they will act as a template. So we have to start always with these 6 lines. 3 lines to fetch all the details from XML file. Last 3 lines to make sure that things are at right place when we execute Java code. It goes to database and all the open connection at top should be closed. So all the open resource will not consume the memory. Fine. So very first thing we have to perform insert. So we can perform other operations. So I'm going to write insert operation here. And for that we know the same method we use. Same method. Okay, so we have this employee class as a entity class. So I'll insert it like 10 times. So I'll have 10 objects in database. So instead of writing this, let's write in a for loop. So I'll run this loop 4 times. I equals to 1 goes equals to 10, and then inside I'll create object of employee equals new employee, then I'll initialize its fields. So employee dot id set id, and I'll say I. So I'll keep the id I. So every time loop increase, so it goes 1 2 3 4. Then next employee dot set age. So whatever comes up, I'll plus 20 to it. So 21 22, that's how it increases the size, I mean number of ages. Next employee dot set name. So I'll say emp hyphen plus I. Okay, and then finally the actual method which performs that save or insert query. So I'll say session, which is coming from here. Line 12 gives a session, and session is the heart of Hibernate application, which provides numerous methods. One of the method is save, and it says give me the object of employee. So you guys can see when we are calling save method, it takes the object, and yep, that's what you mentioned. Have to pass object as param in these methods. So save method is taking argument as an object type, plus id is must. So yep, we have to pass the id. That's what second says. Make sure primary key is used in the object. So in our case, id is primary key. And yeah, if everything was fine, we should see this code 10 times executed and 10 records must be inserted. And right now, I don't think we have employee table. Let's cross verify. If I refresh or refresh from here, I can see student and user. So it should create a new table employee, and for loop will insert 10 records in that table. So main method run as application. So we should see create query and then insert. Yep. So create table, some alter command from previous, that is student, because multiple tables are mapped in configuration file, so it reads those as well. So but focus on create and 10 insert queries. Fine. No other issues, everything's fine. Now if I refresh this here it is employee table is here. Let's close all. So right click, select rows, and I can see 10 records are here. 1 to 10, and age is from 21 to 30, and employee 1 to 10. Okay, so this is what save to. It performs one CRUD operation, that is create. It create or inserts a record. Here it performs create or insert record. Okay, great. What if I need to perform other operations? So I can do that easily by okay, let me create one different method class actually, employee tester for CRUD. Let's call this employee CRUD tester. Better. I don't want to run this code again, but otherwise it will insert 10 more records in the table because there's no restriction on it. It will keep inserting the records. So it's better. I'll create a different class for other operations. Insert is done. Update, get, and delete I'll do from next CRUD operation class. Let's close these files, opening the tester file, and I can get rid of this. And I can have this line in a commented way that if you have to perform CRUD, create record, so that's how it should be done. I'll keep this, go away. Okay, so we're done with C. Now once record is inserted, we have to make sure that whether record is there or not by checking database but writing a code. So that we can do by writing session again, and this time I'll write get, and get will take two arguments. First takes what's your object type or what's the object name. So my object name is employee, or the entity name is employee, so I'll say employee, dot class. Next argument says which ID you're looking for. So I'd say, let's say 5. And then I know when it returns, so what will be the type. So it's the employee type. I'll hold it here. And that's it. Now can I print it? So let's sys out. I mean the details of the employee. So I'll say name. Say employee dot get the name. Let's print the name as well. I mean not name, age. Age. Employee dot get age. Okay. Let's run the code and see whether are we able to fetch the 5 ID or not, 5th ID. We should see select query. There it is, and yes, I can see the name is emp5 and age is 25. Great. So again, if you notice the get method, it needs object, that is employee, and the ID. So that point is right here, that it needs object. I mean it means the method needs object and the primary key. Without primary key it won't work. And that's how we are able to perform this read operations by using get method. Okay, great. Next operation is update. So update will take some more control. How? If we have to update, so first of all we have to make sure that whether the record is present or not. So that case, first of all I'll fetch the object session dot get, and it will be of employee type, then dot class 7th employee, let's say employee 7, or let's make it different way. Let's call this update employee. Okay, so my variable name is update employee. So if I execute this code, definitely I'll get the value. And let's cross check. Yes, here we are with 7th record is here. So I'll put a check first of all. If update employee dot get ID greater than 0, because ID is 7. If it is there, I'm just putting a check. Okay, not required, just giving a more clarity. If you want to write logic, you can also do that. So try to fetch data from the database first of all, if it is there, update it. So I'll say session dot update, and it needs update employee object. So what I can do, if it is there, we can clearly see in database it is ID 7, age 27, and the name is emp-7. I want to change it from emt7 to something else. So I'll say update employee dot set the name of the user of employee, and I want to save it Peter Parker. Okay, so I just gave one name. So if it is there, ID, if ID 7 is there, so set the name of this user and save it. Now if you notice, in this update method I'm passing one object of employee type, there it is, and this has the primary key or the ID. So again we need object and the ID, and if it is there, only then it will update it. So let's run the code and see how it works out. Run as application. In before that, just a second, I need this. Okay, I forgot to copy the insert queries. Okay, just a second, let me drop the table. I'm going to drop the table again, and I'll execute those things again. Okay, close, refresh. Okay, employee is gone. So going to run that employee tester first. I need for the record. So this is what happens when you insert record by using loops. Okay, this is the output. And to do that, to work around with that, we needed this loop, this whole code. Okay, and this is for create or insert. Fine. Next we did read operation. So read was quite simple. Copy this. Then I don't need this part for now, and not this as well. So notice when we run this code, we get select query, and that's what you get when you want to fetch something. It should trigger a select query. So run as application. There it is. I just need the last two lines. Alter is for different class. We don't need that. This is the output. And this is coming from this line. Okay. So what we did in this example, we performed read operation by using get method. So there are other methods as well, but for now we have used read method. Okay, now we are up to update. So update will trigger a update query, and let me give again review. So we are looking for ID 7. If it is there, then set the name Peter Parker for that ID and then update the employee. So right click, run as application. We should see update query in console, and there it is. The update is triggered, and if I check database, refresh, there it is. So the ID is changed. I mean the name is changed for this ID 7. Peter Parker becomes the name of it, the new name. And what we did for that, we just use the same update method which I mentioned and passed that object, and object has ID. Without primary key it won't work. That's why when this was designed, the developer decided to have the primary key because it is working on it. It is based on how things should fetched. So primary key is the critical thing, and you guys should know what is primary key. Primary key is unique key, foreign keys, composite keys, multiple keys are there in database. And every developer, I'm not saying Java developer, full stack developer, or DevOps developer, doesn't matter what's your designation. If you are a developer, you're working in IT, that means you should know what is SQL query, irrespective of your what or your training part or your work department. If you're in IT, you should know this. Okay, so this is we did for update operation. Cool. Now what if I want to delete record? So same way we can again cross verify whether it is there or not, and then we can cross check it or delete it. So I can copy this line. This time I'll call it delete. Okay, instead of saying update or get, I'll just say delete that object. Delete employee. So that's the new name for it. And then I'll delete some ID. Let's say I want to delete 9th ID. So again I'll put a check if it is there or not. So if delete employee dot get ID greater than 0, or you can even put a check null or blank, that will also work. Just put a condition, so I'm checking with the 0. If it is there, so what has to be done? Delete it. So that write session dot delete. Again delete says I need object. It says it needs object. So delete, and there's object, and I'll pass it. I don't need to set anything. It just clearly says delete it. So it takes object which is delete employee, and it has ID 9. Yep, object and ID is requirement, and that's the only requirement if you are performing any CRUD operation by using these methods. Okay, let's run this code, and if it goes fine, we should see a delete query in Eclipse console. There it is, a delete query here, and let's check in database, refresh, and ID 9 is gone. So Hibernate easily deletes the record. Think about if you have to write the same thing in JDBC API. Let me give you that as well. Just give me a minute. Let me copy this code. Then I'll compare what we did in JDBC API and now what we are doing in Hibernate. So if you have configured everything up to the mark, you guys can easily see that working in Hibernate is much simpler in terms of writing complex coding like we did in JDBC API. So remove this piece of code. Okay, it's for image 5, and if it goes fine, we should see delete query. Okay, and here we did delete. Okay, now if I cross check the code Java application, let's see delete. So what we did for that, first of all, we have to give the whole database configuration. Obviously, you can even move this code to one Java file and have the connection here. So at least you need this line connection. So get the connection, then create statement, write a SQL query. If someone is new, they never wrote an SQL query, they have to take some help, then they can write the query. And then after you have to execute it, then cross check, and then you commit it. And lots of other thing you have to manage here. But when it comes to here, just this line session.date is doing that. To support that, we are getting this. Even this is not, this is got option, guys. This is completely option what I'm doing here on line 27 and 28. But this is a oops, but that's a better code. First of all, you have to cross check whether that record is there or not, only then delete it. So just 3 lines or 4 lines and it's done. But yeah, just to work with these 4 lines, we have configured multiple things, but that's a one time. But here we have to write it multiple times. That's one big difference between JDBC API and Hibernate. And everything is in XML file where things are configured much better way. Writing code in Java is fine, but having configuration as well in Java file, that could be an issue sometimes when it comes to configuration. Okay, so and plus one more thing we are doing here, we are using a Maven project which manages the project much better way. If you see here in core Java application, we have used jar file. It goes in under reference libraries, so it's here, the jar file. Think about I have to deal with some more, let's say 10 more applications or 10 more tools. So that means I have to add those jar files here. So manually I have to search them and add these jar files here. But with Maven, just add them as a dependency in POM file and they will get auto downloaded. You can just mention the specific version and it will work. Same way you have to download, and think about we just have 4 libraries or 4 dependencies in POM file, but if I open the Maven dependencies, I can see lots of jar files. Not just 4, we have lots of jar files. Why? Because these jar files might be required some other jar files as a dependency. They cannot work alone. They need some more support from other libraries. So they download, they get also downloaded by Maven. But that won't happen here. You have to look out if I have this Hibernate jar file. So do this jar file need some other libraries? So you have to take care of that part as well. So if you're adding some library, you have to cross check whether that library is standalone or does it needs some more library support. So that's one critical thing. And think about developer if they start doing this part, so when they will write code, the actual code, why the project is written to solve some issue, when they will start working on that logic. So to remove all those dependencies from the user side, they create this Maven, and we are using Maven to create Hibernate application. So just write one side configuration, and things will be more centralized in more control way.